signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
San Antonio stands today as a vibrant city, alive with history and culture. People from all corners of the world come to experience its famous landmarks, the beautiful River Walk, the amazing food and culture, and, of course, the Alamo, a symbol of Texas independence. But beneath the layers of triumph and celebration lies another story, one less told but just as significant. This is the story of Joe, an enslaved man who lived and survived one of Texas's defining conflicts, the Battle of the Alamo. Joe's testimony is not merely an account of events. It is a voice calling out from the margins of history, reminding us that the contributions of enslaved individuals shaped Texas in profound ways. His story intersects with themes of labor, resilience, and the economic engine that slavery powered. To truly understand Joe's place in history, we must first take a step back to the roots of slavery in Texas and its tumultuous relationship with Mexico. Slavery in Texas and the roots of conflict. The story of slavery in Texas is deeply intertwined with its colonial history, economic ambitions, and eventual struggle for independence. The arrival of Africans in Texas began in 1528, under Spanish rule. Though enslaved individuals were granted limited rights, such as purchasing their freedom or protesting abuse, the institution of slavery still served as a foundation for exploitation and oppression. By the early 19th century, Mexico had become a beacon of abolitionist ideals. With the Guerrero Decree of 1829, slavery was officially outlawed across Mexican territory. However, the decree created tensions with Anglo settlers in Texas, many of whom viewed enslaved labor as the backbone of their prosperity. Stephen F. Austin, regarded as the father of Texas, worked to establish settlements reliant on the plantation economy, an economy that thrived on enslaved labor, particularly for cotton production. These settlers resisted Mexico's anti-slavery policies, turning Texas into a powder keg of economic and cultural conflict. The Texas Revolution was not just about sovereignty. It was about preserving an institution that fueled Anglo ambitions. It was into this turbulent world that Joe, an enslaved man, found himself entangled. Setting the stage: the Alamo and its defenders. By 1836, the Alamo stood as a fortified mission, prepared for war. Inside its walls were 200 defenders, united by their defiance of Santa Anna's army. Among them were names that would become legendary: William B. Travis, the fiery commander; James Bowie, the resourceful frontiersman; and Davy Crockett, the backwoodsman turned folk hero. These men have been immortalized in history as heroes of the Texas Revolution. But their fight was not merely for freedom. For Travis, Bowie, and the Anglo settlers, the Alamo symbolized the defense of their land, their wealth, and the institution of slavery that supported it. Joe, an enslaved man purchased by Travis for $805, was thrust into this chaotic moment in history, not as a volunteer, but as a servant and observer. His testimony provides an unparalleled glimpse into the lives of the enslaved and their role in shaping pivotal moments of the past. Interestingly, Joe's legacy is linked to that of his brother, William Wells Brown, one of the first African-American novelists. William, who also endured the horrors of slavery, later became a fugitive and a leading voice in abolitionist literature. In his works, including William Brown, A Fugitive Slave, he spoke eloquently about the resilience and creativity of enslaved individuals. Together, the lives of Joe and William Wells Brown highlight the enduring strength of those who lived under the shadow of slavery. The Battle of the Alamo, March 6, 1836. The Alamo awoke to chaos. Mexican forces, numbering over 4,000, launched a final assault in the pre-dawn hours. Joe's testimony recounts the fear and determination that filled the air. Alarms rang out, and Travis called Joe to arms. Together, they rushed to the north wall, where Travis rallied his men, shouting, "Come on, boys! The Mexicans are upon us, and we'll give them hell!" Joe described the defenders' fierce resistance as they fought desperately against an overwhelming enemy. Cannon fire echoed through the mission as the defenders fired their last rounds. Amidst the chaos, Travis fell, struck by enemy fire. Joe, witnessing the death of his enslaver, retreated to a nearby building, where he continued to fire at the advancing soldiers. Bowie, gravely ill, defended himself to the end, firing shots from his bed before being overwhelmed. Davy Crockett, surrounded by fallen comrades, was reportedly captured alive, though his fate remains a subject of debate. By dawn, the Alamo was silent, its defenders defeated. Joe's account captures the desperation and humanity of that moment. He bore witness to the courage and tragedy, the heroism and the destruction of it all. The aftermath and Joe's fate. After the battle, Joe was one of the few survivors spared by Santa Anna's orders. Tasked with identifying the bodies of the fallen, Joe faced the harrowing reality of the aftermath. The defenders were gone, their bodies burned in pyres. For Joe, survival came at a cost, his humanity reduced to a tool for war's grim closure. Yet, Joe's survival was also an act of defiance. His testimony, recorded by both Texan and Mexican officials, became an invaluable resource for historians. It offers a rare window into a battle defined by myth, revealing truths that challenge the traditional narrative of the Alamo story. Legacy and reflection. Joe's life after the Alamo remains a mystery, but his testimony lives on. In Joe, the slave who became an Alamo legend, historians Ron J. Jackson Jr. and Lee Spencer White pieced together fragments of his story, uncovering his resilience and resourcefulness. The last known record of Joe appears in 1837, with a runaway slave bounty. It is believed that he escaped to freedom, but his final fate is lost to history. Joe's connection to his brother, William Wells Brown, underscores the power of storytelling. While William used his voice to fight for abolition and equality, Joe's testimony offers a reminder that history is not merely a tale of victors. It is a chronicle of witnesses. Together, their legacies remind us that the fight for justice is ongoing. Their stories challenge us to confront the uncomfortable truths of our past and to honor the voices of those who endured and survived. Joe is more than just a name from history. He is also a symbol of resilience, a constant reminder of the humanity that shines through even in the darkest of times. May we honor his voice and the voices of all those in history that have become forgotten.